Indians for hire. Welcome back to James for Hire. I'm Matthew Perry with RJ Strope, and we are back for the NL East projections and predictions, taking a look at all 5 teams in the division. Same thing we've been doing the past few days. If you haven't seen already, we dropped the AL East, AL Central, and AL West videos the last 3 days, and tomorrow and the next day we'll be dropping the NL Central and NL West. But today, obviously, it is the NL East, and we'll start with the Atlanta Braves, your Atlanta Braves, RJ. Who finished, let me pull it up, finished 35-25 before losing in the NLCS to the Dodgers. They brought in Charlie Morton, which I think was great, Drew Smiley, Jake Lamb, Jason Kipnis got a minor league deal, Travis Demeritte, Nate Jones also got a minor league deal, guys that left, Darren O'Day, Cole Hamels, Nick Markakis, lots of veteran guys, Mike Fultonwitz, Felix Hernandez, Mark Melanson, Shane Green, Adam Duvall, Tyler Flowers, Adeiny Echeverria, Charlie Culberson, a couple of, guys that were with the Braves for a few years. What are your thoughts on the Braves offseason?
Overall, I think it was really good. You had to get a bat, and whether that was bringing Ozuna back or maybe you could go get a deal for, someone else, you had to get another bat because you have to have protection in the lineup for Acuna and for Freeman. You got to keep that going. Last year was such a good year for the Atlanta Braves. I get it. It was a shortened season. It was a weird year for everybody. This is a team that was up 3-1 in the NLCS. They were 1 game away from going to the World Series. So this team didn't need much. And what do? They go out and they get Charlie Morton. I didn't see that one coming, honestly. That kind of came out of nowhere for me. I love that move. I think this pitching rotation is disgusting. Let's not forget that Mike Soroka didn't even play 90% of the year last year. He'll be back at some point this year. And you look at a rotation that's going to have Soroka, you're going to have Charlie Morton, Max Fried, Ian Anderson. You mentioned Drew Smiley, Kyle Wright is there. One of those 2 will have to go to the bullpen, maybe both in the playoffs. I don't know. I don't love what they lost out of the bullpen. You mentioned Darren O'Day, Shane Green, Mark Melanson's the big one. That guy was a reliable closer for the Braves for the last couple years. I really wanted to see them bring Mark Melanson back. That did not happen. I don't remember where he signed. Was it the Padres?
Yeah,
Might have been.
Padres.
Yeah, I feel everybody's going to San Diego now. It's the cool thing to do. Overall, I think they had a good offseason. I still think this is one of the best teams in all of baseball. Their lineup does not have a hole in it. And now Christian Pache is going to come up and probably play just about every day. I don't know if he'll be on the opening day roster, but he's an everyday player now. The one thing I want to see the Atlanta Braves do at the trade deadline, I want them to go get one more bat. And I get it. That lineup is stacked. And whoever you go get might not play every single day, but just go get us one more. I think there's going to be players available. You mentioned some of the depth that was lost in Adam Duvall, Charlie Culberson. None of those guys are, big name, big money guys, but they played really well for the Braves. And they came up in some clutch situations and performed well for the Braves. What is that depth going to look like this year in the lineup? I want to see them go get one more bat. Now, they don't have to go trade for Chris Bryant or anything like that, but just go get another bat. If they do trade for Chris Bryant, I'm not going to say no. But I would like to see one more bat, and maybe Austin Riley moves to that bench player that can come in clutch situations.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you said. What the Braves did in this offseason is pretty amazing, in my opinion. There aren't many teams that you can see lose as much depth as they did, whether it's veteran guys like Cole Hamels, Duvall, Tyler Flowers had been there for at least 5 years, Shane Green, and then come back with a complete looking team. I mean, like you said, the lineup doesn't have a hole in it. I really like what I see from the lineup 1 through 8. I mean, there's not much I would change to it. This will be the first full season of Christian Pache, so I'm looking forward to him. He's an exciting player. Obviously, Ronald Acuna Jr. is still there. Freddie Freeman coming off an MVP year. Hopefully he can keep that up in a longer season. The rotation still looks good, even without Hamels and Fulton Witts in them. Max Fried is there. He really came into his own last season. Charlie Morton can still do it. I think he's 36 years old now, something like that. He still had a good season with the Rays last year, so no doubt he'll be able to help the Braves. Like you said, Soroka coming back is going to be big. A lot of youth. They took advantage of the farm system. Guys like Ian Anderson and Kyle Wright, they're up now. They'll be here full time. As mentioned, Pache. I like what I see. The bullpen losing O'Day and Melanson. Shane Green was significant, but Shane Green's still a free agent. I still think they should go get him back. I don't see why not. You still got guys like Will Smith. Chris Martin really came into his own last year. Sean Newcomb, a long relief option. The pen doesn't look too bad. And then if you want one more bat, you still got Drew Waters sitting in AAA. We should be seeing him up on the big league roster at some point this year. No really significant guys on the bench besides Camargo and Enciarte, guys like that. That are decent, but nothing special. So why not bring up Drew Waters, kind of help him fill out that bench? Pacoda has him at 82 wins, which we spoke about before this, and that's downright disrespectful to this team. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, when I saw that, I was like, I must have missed something. I don't did they not re-sign Ozuna? Is Soroka not going to play this year? Like, what did I miss something here? This absolutely is a 90-win team. The one thing I would say about the Braves, the rest of the division has gotten better. So you don't have the luxury of playing a lot of cupcake games like in other divisions. That being said, the Braves, like I said, are one of the best teams in all of Major League Baseball. This team is going to win over 90 games. Having them at 82, I don't know. I guess Pacoda's smarter than me, but I'm not understanding what they were seeing there. This is absolutely a 90-win team.
Yeah, no, don't put yourself down for this. This is dumb on their part. I don't see any way they finish with 82 wins. They're finishing with at least 90. This team could be on the other side of 95 wins, honestly, if everything goes right. They've done everything they can to bring a good team to the table, and that's exactly what they've done. The lineup is almost perfect. I mean, there's not much I would change. Bringing Travis DeArno in, it was fantastic. Ozuna back is really big for that team, especially for their offense. And Soroka coming back, which probably be around mid-season, I want to say, big, really huge. It's going to help their second half a lot. This team's winning at least 90 games, whether Pacoda likes it or not. RJ and I were both taking the over. We'll move on to the Miami Marlins, who clutched out a second-place spot in a tough division last year. They finished 31-29. Kind of shocked, had a little Cinderella story going on for a little bit before getting swept in the NLDS to the Braves. I liked what we saw from them last season. A little Cinderella story is always fun. Little guys down there in Miami getting stuff done. Guys, they brought in Adam Simber, quality reliever from the Indians. John Curtis, they got from the Rays. John Curtis saw some World Series time last year, so big game guy. They need that down in Miami. Sandy Leon, veteran catcher on a minor league deal, and then Adam Duvall, who was previously of the Braves. Solid addition to their lineup. Guys that left, they traded Jordan Yamamoto to the Mets, which honestly caught me by surprise because I thought he was going to become a staple in their rotation. I guess not. Brandon Kinsler, I want to say you pronounce it. Nitzler, I don't know, but he's gone. He's a reliever. Ryan Stanek gone as well. Jose Urena, Brad Boxberger, Nick Vincent, and then a few other veteran guys like Matt Joyce, Sean Rodriguez, guys like that, all gone. What are your thoughts on the Marlins?
You mentioned it was a Cinderella team last year. I think the clock just hit midnight. This team, congratulations on 2020. This is a completely different year. This is going to be a longer season. Talent is going to prevail. And like I mentioned with the Braves, this division is absolutely impossible. The Miami Marlins are a good team. I do think they're a good team. They're a lot better, and they are way ahead of schedule compared to what I thought they were going to be. I thought this was a total rebuild. It's going to take years and years, and here they are making the playoffs last year and beating the Cubs. They weren't just there, and losing. They beat the Cubs. So congratulations to the Marlins. This division is just stupid. They are a good team, and I think they're a last place team. That's what I think of this division. It's literally just impossible. You mentioned they've made some moves. They don't have a bad lineup, but compared to the other 4 teams in the division, I really don't see how Miami can do much this year.
Yeah, they're in a tough situation, similar to a team like the Rangers or the Mariners over in the AL West. Go watch that video if you haven't. You got a good farm system going. You got a lot of prospects that are about to come up, but you're in a tougher division, and it's just not your year. I mean, sometimes that's just the case. Obviously, the Marlins could, shock us, but based on the moves the other teams in the NL East made, I mean, it's just not realistic. I mean, you look at the lineup, like you said, it's not bad. It's not great though. Corey Dickerson, Starling Marte, Jesus Aguilar, Adam Duvall, solid veteran guys. Brian Anderson and Miguel Rojas are still there, obviously. Isan Diaz, Jorge Alfaro. So it's very similar last season. Only slight changes were made. Bringing Adam Duvall in was nice, of course, but nothing super game changing. The rotation's decent. Sixto Sanchez showed a lot of promise last year. This will be his first full season in the bigs. I'm looking forward to seeing more from him. Sandy Alcantara, he's had his ups and downs, but he's still on the younger side, so he has room to grow. Same goes for Pablo Lopez. The pen's not too bad. I'm not really worried about it. Adam Simber and John Curtis, they're 2 pickups from the offseason. I expect good things from them. And then plenty of prospects to look forward to if you're a Marlins fan. Lewin Diaz, Jazz Chisholm, JJ Bleday, Monty Harrison, Braxton Garrett, who was drafted I think like 5 years ago. So it's finally time for him. He's supposed to be a really good starting pitcher, which is definitely one of the issues that the Marlins need to address. But yeah, it's not their year. I don't think. The Cinderella story was fun, but yeah, like you said, RJ, the clock might have just struck midnight. Pacoda has them winning 70 games, over or under.
I would say probably right at 70. This is looking at their roster. They should win more than 70 games, but looking at the division, that's a lot of tough games. A lot of games you're going to have to pull out, and I don't think they're going to do it. I'd say right at 70, 71. That'll probably be about right.
Yeah, I don't mind this projection. It kind of sucks saying this team's going to lose over 90 games, but yeah, I mean, it's a tough division. It's going to happen. I'm going to go just over, maybe by a couple of games. I don't want to put it exactly like that. But I think they could win 72, 73 maybe. But yeah, they got the short end of the stick because they're in arguably the best division in baseball. If not the best, then second best for sure. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough, and there's going to be a lot of obstacles for the Marlins to overcome. We'll move to the Phillies, who missed the playoffs last year, going 28-32. They brought in a lot of relievers, which was definitely something they needed. They had not arguably, but statistically one of the worst bullpens in MLB history last year. If you look at the numbers, they brought in Jose Alvarado, acquired him from the Rays, got Archie Bradley, Matt Moore, Chase Anderson, minor league deal for Brandon Nitzler. Once again, tough for me. Tony Watson, also on a minor league deal, and then Brad Miller to help the offense a little bit. Guys that left, though, also a couple relievers. So Brandon Robertson, David Phelps, Brandon Workman, Heath Hembry, and offensively Jay Bruce, and then Jake Arrieta as well. Can't forget about him. They brought in relievers, but then you look at the outs, and there's almost the same amount of relievers left. What are your thoughts on the Phillies going in?
I'll be honest. Andrew McCutchen is my favorite player in the league, and I am a big fan of Bryce Harper. So that being said, I want the Phillies to be good. Yeah, I'm a Braves fan, but I want to see the Phillies do good because I want those 2 players to succeed. We're waiting. We are still waiting. This Phillies team, they went all in, and they gave Bryce Harper $300 million. They go get Real Muto. They go get Kutch. They go get Zach Wheeler. We're waiting. This team has to put it together at some point, right? Like, this team can't just keep going out there and being under 500 and missing the playoffs. At some point, they're going to have to put it together, right? This could be the year. I will say they did add a lot of bullpen pieces, and they absolutely had to address the bullpen. If the pitching is good for this Philadelphia Phillies team, and that's starting rotation and bullpen, if the pitching can be good, this team will make the playoffs. If the pitching doesn't improve, you're looking at another 4th place finish. That's where the Phillies are right now. Offensively, they have got some studs. They've got some box office guys that you come to the ballpark to watch. You turn on the TV to watch them, but the pitching has to hold up their end of the bargain. You can't go out there with the worst bullpen in the league and expect to make the playoffs. So they did address it. Let's see how it works. If the pitching's good, they're going to make the playoffs.
Yeah, you said it perfectly. The pitching is the answer to this. We know the lineup's good. It's proven itself offensively. And you can just tell by the big names: Andrew McCutchen, Bryce Harper, JT Realmuto. You know what to expect from them. Didi Gregorius, he was so good at the Yankees, he carries that over to Philly. Alec Baum in his first complete season, he was almost a Rookie of the Year candidate last year. He unfortunately didn't have enough at bats to qualify, but he was on that pace. He could be really quality at third. The rotation isn't too bad, but like you said, they went all in. It has to pay off. Aaron Nola, Zach Wheeler, who they gave the big money to just over a year ago. All downhill from there, kind of. Zach Eflin, Vince Velasquez, and Matt Moore you got to see how much more Matt Moore can give as he gets up there in age. The pen has improved, but definitely still a question mark. It hasn't proven themselves. You got to see that during the season. Hector Neris was there last year, had to suffer through that historically bad year, but he was the one bright spot, I should say. And then joining him, Archie Bradley, Jose Alvarado, Sir Anthony Dominguez, who was also one of the bright points in the bullpen. He's out at least for the start of the season with an injury, but once he's back, the bullpen only gets better. And then look out for guys like Mickey Moniak and Spencer Howard. Those are two guys that are towards the top of the prospect charts. Can definitely make an impact, especially Spencer Howard on the back half of that rotation. But yeah, I'd expect great things. Hopefully, Realmuto earns that money that he just got this offseason. Bryce Harper, it's arguable whether or not he's on pace to earn that big contract he got a couple years ago. He's a very polarizing player, you could say, based on his production, because some numbers you look at and they're underwhelming, and then some you look at and he's one of the best players in the league. So it's all about how you look at Bryce Harper. It's definitely a perspective thing. If McCutchen's healthy, he's going to be great. Same goes for Segura. But who knows? Like we said, it's a tough division. And I think Pacoda factors that in a little bit. They have them at 84 wins, RJ, over or under?
I'm going to go over. I'm going to be annoying. They're going to win 85 games. Just over. I do think the four teams at the top of this division are going to be very good. And I think that if they were in any other division, they would be like surefire playoff teams. But because of how many times they're going to have to play each other, the Phillies aren't going to be able to go out there and win 90 games. I would say right about 85. I do think this is a good team. I really do.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm going to take the over. I think it'll be slightly over 84 games, 85, 86, something like that. Sounds good. It'll be interesting, though, because then you have the teams like the Mets and the Nationals, who we'll get to next, that can also win that many games. So somebody has to lose these division games. It can't just all be on the Marlins. So our overs will probably be wrong. It's one way or another for a lot of these teams, because so many of these teams have improved. I know you and I talked about before the video how good the Nationals look, and they do look great. But yes, someone's got to take these L's. They'll be handed out one way or another. So I don't know. I don't think everyone can win 80 games. So that'll be interesting. But I will take the over just for sake of looking at the teams. We'll move on to the Mets, who had one of the most important off seasons in their recent history and one of the biggest out of any of the teams this past off season. After missing the playoffs, they had in the offseason new ownership. Steve Cohen, of course, very open, very win now attitude, which is great to see, because we see teams like the Indians and the Rockies have the complete opposite of that in their ownership, which is just deflating to see as a fan. But yeah, guys they brought in, they acquired Francisco Lindor and Carlos Carrasco from the Indians. Great trade there for them. They signed James McCann, addressing a catching issue. They addressed the bullpen with Trevor May. They got Taijuan Walker for the rotation. A couple of solid veterans, Kevin Pillar, Jonathan VR. That rhymed. That's extra fun. Albert Amora Jr., Aaron Loup, and then several other guys to minor league deals. Love the offseason for the Mets. Guys they lost: Andres Gimenez and Ahmed Rosario. They were traded to the Indians in the Lindor trade. Steven Matz is off to the Blue Jays. They traded him away. And then other other guys they could do without, the veterans that took up a lot of their cap space. Yoenis Cespedes, Jed Lowry, Todd Frazier, Wilson Ramos, Michael Wacha, Justin Wilson, and Rick Porcello all say goodbye to Queens and head elsewhere. What are your thoughts on the Mets?
They had a great offseason. Obviously, when you can acquire one of the 10 best players in all of baseball, which I believe Francisco Lindor is, your team has obviously improved. You have a chance to win a lot of games. You have put yourself in prime time. If anything, if nothing else, the team is interesting now. They're always interesting because it's New York. It's a big market. People are going to talk. But this team now has to deal with expectations. And I get it. There's expectations every year in New York, whether it's the Yankees, the Mets, whether it's the Knicks, the Nets, the Giants, the Jets, doesn't matter. Hey, I rhyme too, just like you. It doesn't, there's always expectations in New York, but now you have those expectations everywhere now. There's people in Florida that are like, hey, watch the Mets. People in Texas are like, hey, the Mets are going to be good. It's not just that sports talk radio in New York now putting the pressure on the Mets. You have nationwide pressure. Your owner is very outspoken, very win now. Like you mentioned, you acquired one of the best players in all of baseball, Francisco Lindor. You now have pressure on you to perform now. You must win now, or there's going to be questions. And I just wonder if they start slow in April or May, what is the conversation going to be in June and July? That's what I want to know. And then how do you turn that corner? And after the All-Star break, how do you rebound and make a playoff push if you start slow? I don't know that the Mets are going to start slow, but if they do, does your team have the, what it takes to turn that corner and still make a playoff push? Because this is a very good team. This is absolutely a team that should make the playoffs. So now it's just about managing the expectations. And if things don't start off great, can you work out of it and still be good enough?
Yeah, the pressure is on. I mean, you make these moves, you excite the fans, you excite the city. Shout out to Sal, my boy Sal in New York, Mets fan. But Mets fans are also used to that failure. Also, shout out Sal. This is the best team they've had since 2015. Obviously, we know what happened then, losing to the Royals. But yeah, this team looks ready to go. I mean, you look at this lineup: Nimmo, McNeil, Lindor, Conforto, Alonso, James McCann, one of the best catchers in the league. The rotation, the pitching's been there. All you have to do is not get that injury bug, which has hit the other New York team quite a lot, and unfortunately hits the pitching staff in Queens just about every year. Noah Syndergaard's out until about mid 2021. He had Tommy John, so David Peterson will be taking that spot in the rotation. But you still got Jacob deGrom. You still got the best pitcher in baseball. Add Carlos Carrasco to that, Marcus Stroman, and Taijuan Walker. That's one hell of a rotation right there. There's a lot you can do with this team. It's just the act of putting it all together and getting things going. I mean, winning has been hard to come by since 2015 for the Mets. They missed the playoffs last year, which I don't think they were projected to do, because the lineup besides Lindor and McCann is about the same. This team wasn't that different offensively, but injuries hit them. Obviously, Jed Lowry didn't have any impact. Same with Cespedes. His situation was weird. And yeah, things happen. Mets are gonna Met, so hopefully that doesn't happen this year, because they're an exciting team and I want to see great things from them. I want to see the Subway Series be exciting again as a Yankee fan. The pen looks good. If Edwin Diaz can go back to who he was with the Mariners, that'd be fantastic. If Betances can show what he can do, if he can stay healthy and do what he did for the Yankees, that's even better. The pickup of Trevor May is a great signing, in my opinion. Definitely addressed a problem in the bullpen. And yeah, I mean, the Mets don't need much else. I mean, maybe pick up another reliever at the deadline if you can, or maybe another bench piece. But the bench, you already got Jonathan VR and Almora Jr. on there. So you have a defensive replacement in Almora Jr., at least for the outfield. And then VR can play almost all over the infield. So they have it covered. I mean, Steve Cohen has done a fantastic job. Now it's just time to win. It's just time to win. That's all there's left to do for the Mets. And I hope they do it, because if not, you're going to disappoint everybody again. but like I said, they're used to it. Pacoda projection has them at 93 wins. RJ, over or under?
We're going to take the under on that one. You mentioned how the Mets, Mets fans are used to disappointment. Look, this team is very good. We easily could get, 3 playoff teams from the NL East, and the Mets could absolutely be one of them. The problem with that is I think there's 2 teams in the NL West that are already locked into the playoffs. So now the NL East is fighting for the division and 1 wild card. And I just think the Mets are the 3rd best team in the division. I do think they're going to come up short. 93 wins, come on, no. I think this team can get close to 90, but I think the Braves and the team that we're going to talk about next are just loaded, and I think they're just better than the Mets.
I think this could be the Mets' year, but I also think they could miss the playoffs again. See, they're a very polarizing team. You're either really good or you're really disappointing. When you're the Mets, they have everything it takes to be a 93-win team. I know they're in a tough division, but I do think they could beat these good teams. I mean, even the Braves, who we called a almost complete team, the Mets are right there with them. I do think those games will be very exciting, but yeah, I mean, if things change, if Steve Cohen can completely change the narrative, new ownership, new team, new mindset and everything, then sure, they could definitely win 93 games. They could definitely do it on paper. But you run into the Mets stuff, being the Mets, the injury bug, being the Mets. I mean, you would kind of expect failure here. It's easy to expect failure after what we've seen for so many years. And I mean, since 86, what has happened? Not that much. 2015 was cool, but I mean, you guys still weren't like a top team in the league. I don't want to hate on the Mets too much because, like I said, they're a good team, but it's hard to have it's easy to have high expectations. It's hard for them to live up to the expectations year after year, it seems. So I'm gonna go under as well, just because I expect some Mets things to happen. But I would love to see them win 93 plus. I would love to see them win the division and do great things from there because they have a great team, a lot of fun players to watch, a lot of young up and coming guys as well. Pete Alonso's still, this is his 4th year. I'm really looking forward to it. I just hope they can bring it all together. And then rounding out with the Washington Nationals, a team I know you're very high on. They finished last in the East, shockingly, last year, 26-34, missed the playoffs, but they had quite the offseason. They brought in Josh Bell via trade with the Pirates. They signed Schwarber and John Lester from the Cubs. They signed Brad Hand. I love that signing for them. Alex Avila, Gerardo Parra's back from overseas. He got a minor league deal. Guys that left, Will Crowe was traded in the Pirates deal. He was one of their better pitching prospects. Adam Eaton is gone, Anibal Sanchez, many other solid veterans like Howie Kendrick, he retired, Eric Thames, Sean Doolittle, Asdrubal Cabrera, etc. What are your thoughts on the Nats?
I don't think anybody's talking about this team. I don't hear anybody talking about this team. All I hear in this division is Mets, Mets, Mets. Oh, by the way, the Braves have won the division 3 years in a row, but nobody is talking about the Washington Nationals and how loaded this team is. When you look at that rotation, that is absolutely filthy, and that's one of the best rotations in all of baseball. When you look at that lineup, it is just hit after hit after hit. This team can blow some teams out. I think this team is very dangerous. As an Atlanta Braves fan, I get it. The Mets made some good moves, but I'm much more nervous for playing against the Washington Nationals than I am the New York Mets. This team knows how to win. They just won a World Series a couple years ago. They're absolutely loaded. This team, watch out for this team. No one's talking about them. Everybody's talking about the Braves and the Mets. Don't forget about that team in DC that just won a World Series a couple years ago, and now they might be even more loaded than when they won the World Series. I think this is the most underrated team in baseball.
Yeah, you make a good point. I mean, I don't hear a lot of talk about the Nats, and you had me take another look at the team. we have the lineup and the rotation and stuff here, and you're exactly right. I mean, this team is very underrated. The signings, as long as they play as they should, they pay up to their pay grade, then they're going to be a great team. I mean, Kyle Schwarber has plenty of potential as a power bat. Josh Bell had a down year last year, but we saw what he did the year prior, hit tons of homers. If he could do that again, that's just what the Nats need. You still got Juan Soto there, one of the best hitters in baseball. Trey Turner, a top 5 shortstop in the league. Starlin Castro, one of the best contact hitters of our generation. Victor Robles in center, speed and a good glove out there. I mean, the lineup looks great. The rotation's still one of the best top 3s of a rotation in baseball. Max Scherzer, Patrick Corbin, and Steven Strasburg. I mean, only a few teams have something better than that. Maybe the Dodgers and the Padres, and I think that's it from there. But yeah, that's a fantastic 1, 2, and 3. And then you got Lester, who's up there in age, but can definitely still give it a throw. And then Joe Ross, who's been there forever, always reliable, always there when they need him. He's slated to be their 5 starter. I have no problem with that. They brought back Ryan Zimmerman, who opted out last year. He's on their bench right now. Having a guy like Zimmerman on your bench, I mean, that's fantastic. He could still bring a lot to the table. Don't forget about the season he had before last, where the one before he opted out, that is. You know, he hit, I want to say, around 30 home runs. He was back to what he used to be. I liked what I saw from him. Him being on the bench is very, very helpful. The pen, they signed Brad Hand, which I loved. I don't know why the Indians got rid of him. I mean, I know why they got rid of him, but like from a baseball standpoint, that's not something to do. He's still a quality reliever. Love what I see from him. He joins Will Harris and Daniel Hudson at the top of that pen. And I think that's enough to get them by. I mean, you're exactly right. They're very underrated. Just like we said with all the other teams in this division, though, it's a tough division. So they could falter a little bit depending on how things go. Hopefully they stay healthy, especially that rotation. Strasburg seems to average like 1 injury a season. If he could have 0, then this team could win closer to 90 games. It really depends what happens. If everything comes together, this team could be great. Dakota has them projected 84 wins, RJ, over or under?
Over. This is a 90-win team. We said the Braves are going to win close to 95. You said, I think the Nationals finish about 4 or 5 games behind them, which would put them right at 90 wins. Maybe I don't understand it. This team is just loaded to me. When I look at this roster, I knew they had added Josh Bell and Kyle Schwarber, but then you just look and it's like, wait a minute, they still have that guy. Wait a minute, they got him. Wait a minute. And you just keep going down the list. And it's like, this team is disgusting. Like, they're not getting any love. This team is going to win 90 games, and they are going to be playing in the wild card game.
Yes, yeah, that's tough. 90 wins, I don't think so. I'm actually going to take the under here. 84 is, honestly, I don't think 84 is bad, but I do think that they will be around 4th place here. I do think they could finish higher than the Marlins. I love it, and I'd love to see them pass the Phillies and maybe the Mets. I don't think they could pass the Braves, but we'll wait and see on that. I'd love for them to prove me wrong. They have everything it takes to prove me wrong, but like I said, somebody's got to take those L's, and I think a lot of them will go to the Nats and the Marlins. It's unfortunate, but you're in a tough division. You're gonna have to battle it out. I do think it'll be tight. They could maybe get a second wild card if they could clutch out that 3rd place spot, depending on how the other divisions in the National League go. But I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. I like what they're doing in Washington. If they can keep going with that, I do think they could win a division within the next couple of years if they keep this up, take advantage of free agency, do what you got to do. But for now, I'm going to take the under. That has been our National League East projections and predictions. Catch us tomorrow for the NL Central predictions, where I'll be joined by Will Polston, of course, the Cardinals fan himself, and we'll discuss that division. But for now, RJ Strope, I've been Matthew Perry. We've been GMs for Hire, and we'll see you next time.